Hello wrestling fans and welcome back to Tweet Wrestling. So on the 8th of April 2021, WWE announced that the Mattel Retro Wrestling figure line is making a comeback. For a toy line that we thought was dead and buried 2 years back, we now have two wrestlers that are coming our way. As far, we have seen pictures of Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mean Gene Okerlund. So now we're going to have our top 10 list of wrestling figures that need to be made for the WWE Mattel Retro Wrestling figure line. I will exclude the great works from Cella Toys, so there will be no Nick Aldis, Mind of the Meanie set, Dynamite Kid, Ethan Page, Habushi, and Bull Nakano. And again, I'll do the same with the Heels and Faces line, and sadly there will be no Dino Bravo, Sabu, Earl Hebner, Matt Cardona, Brian Myers, Paul Roma and Barry Harwitz. They are great wrestlers, so I'll leave that to Cella Toys and Heels and Faces. So we're going to have a fresh list of wrestlers that we need for the WWE Mattel Retro Wrestling figure line. Starting the list and in at number 10 is the Immortal Hulk Hogan. Everything was up in the air with the Hulkster first time round, and hopefully now we can get a bash at having a retro Hulk Hogan wrestling figure. What would your choice be, wrestling fans? The traditional red and yellow, or a later Hollywood Hogan? In at number 9 is the best in the world, CM Punk. One of the greatest from this side of the millennium, CM Punk needs no introduction to the wrestling world. Thankfully, things are a little bit easy with the WWE, and we need a retro wrestling figure of CM Punk. At number 8, slight little bit of bias here, as one of my favourites is Mr. Monday Night RVD Rob Van Dam. Now a WWE Hall of Famer, hey, what's the chances of producing a retro ECW hardcore line? Now that's something to be talking about, hey? Number 7, well, it's not quite the Nasty Boys, but it is a tag team division. Over the years there's been many great tag teams, and wouldn't it be great to include some of them in a new line? You could go on forever, the Dudley Boys, the Beverly Brothers, Heart Foundation, Rhythm and Blues. Basically, I could go on forever. Maybe we will get a tag team set, that would be great if they included that. I will say I do hope that the retro line includes the vintage retro theme that we had in the 90s. Get it looking old school, get it how it was, and let's have a tag team set. Number 6 is Vince McMahon. From the golden days of wrestling, when Vince McMahon was a commentator, to the great interviews he had, from the battles of Stone Cold Steve Austin. The CEO of the WWE needs to be included. Let's have a Vince McMahon. Before we hit the top 5 list, don't forget to give us a like, share and subscribe. Number 5, and probably most interesting of all, let's have a WCW Global Wrestling figure line. Let's think of the superstars that we're missing from that lot. So you got Cactus Jack, Jushin Thunder Liger, Stunning Steve Austin, Big Van Vader, Johnny B. Bad. There is so many. Hey, I'd love to see WCW Gloob's wrestling figures return, and why not fetch it in with the WWE Retro line? Making a list at number 4 is a rated R superstar, Edge. Whether we see an action figure which accompanies Christian, that is another matter, but Edge obviously has stood the test of time, and it's 25 years nearly since he's made his debut. This is a wrestling figure that would fit in with the new generation and the 1990s fans, just like myself. Counting down at number 3 is Wrestling Managers. The choice is yours when it comes to Wrestling Managers, because there has been so many greats at that. What I do know is that the Retro line and the WWF Hasbro wrestling figures really did miss a trick in releasing Wrestling Managers. Other great toy companies such as LJN, Jakks, Mattel, they've all had managers, and sadly we never seen that with Hasbro or the later Retro line. Let me know in the comments box which one you'd like to see. If I had to pick one, I'd go with Dr. of Style Slick. Number 2, and it's a little bit of royalty, Jerry the King Lawler. Whether you go back to his time in Memphis Wrestling or the recent times at WWE, this man needs no introduction to wrestling, but he certainly needs a retro WWE wrestling figure. All hail the king, let's have a Jerry the King Lawler. Thank you, sir. Before we hit the number 1 spot, here's some honourable mentions to the wrestlers we'd also like to see. So you got the likes of your Ravens, Haku, Yokozuna, Max Moon, Duncan Dink, Bret the Man Hart, British Bulldog. Who else would you add, wrestling fans? For me, maybe a Brian Pillman. That'll be lovely to see. And obviously there's plenty more to add. Andre the Giant, Ric Flair. You can go on forever. Anyway, here we go. And here is number 1. It was so hard just to pick one, so I had to pick them all. Let's include a women's division for the WWE Retro Wrestling figure line. Women's wrestling right now has really taken off. It's up there with the men's wrestling, and you see some phenomenal matches. You got the character, the charisma, everything going for it. Let's make the women's division our number 1 priority and include these in our retro wrestling figure line. So wrestling fans, which one would you pick first? For me, it's China, the 9th wonder of the world. Over to you. That's Tweet Wrestling's top 10 retro wrestling figures that we need. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, share and subscribe button. See you all again soon. Take care for now. Goodbye.